What's up, man? This is DJ Wonder, and I'm effing with the Guts podcast. You guys trying to make me curse?
Yeah, fuck yeah, man.
You guys trying to make me curse?
That's crazy shit, man.
Slow key as me.
Skeleton Key and Misery.
This changed my life forever.
Like nobody said.
Rule number one: I'm effing with the Guts podcast. All right.
Whatever happened to MTV? It's like
A movie that no one's ever heard of and talks about.
shit chatting about the future.
Rule number one: I'm effing with the Guts podcast. All right. What's up, guys?
Hey,
What's up,
Wonder.
homie?
What's up? What's up?
Good
Yo,
to see you, fam.
Hey, it's so cool of you to do this, man. Thank you so much, bro. That's live.
Hell yeah.
Some of my favorite stuff, man. So it sounds fun.
I heard,
Fuck
man.
yeah.
When I heard you were a horror fan, I was like, no way, man. You never know who's into the shit we into,
Yeah,
you
no
know?
shit.
It's almost like our own little secret society
Yeah.
living in public, you know?
Yep. It is. It is. I'm glad y'all reached out. Thank you.
Yeah,
Oh,
man.
yeah, no doubt, man.
When did you, I mean, have you been in the horror like since you were a kid? Most people, like for me, it started as a kid. I think all of us, it started like as a kid of what you grew up seeing. Maybe it was your big brother or your mom or your kid, you know. Have you been into it ever since you were like a kid, or it's something new? What kind of
No.
attracted it to you at first?
Definitely when I was a kid. My parents were not into horror at all, but my aunt was into it. So the first stuff that I ever saw was like Friday the 13th, Nightmare on Elm Street,
Yeah.
Dream Warriors, Nightmare on Elm Street Part 3, Dream Warriors,
Uh-huh.
definitely. And which is like my favorite of all the Nightmare on Elm Street movies. But like when I would stay at my aunt's house on the weekends when my parents would be out working, and I would always find something to scare myself with. So it's been, and also seeing the making a Thriller definitely scarred me as a child.
Oh yeah, I never thought about that.
Yeah, yeah. That Thriller shit, that's what my aunt had me watching one day. I was like, man, Michael Jackson, it took me on a whole nother level. Like,
Well,
I
it
never
had like
expected him to
Vincent
be like
Price. It had the OG himself, Vincent Price, and the special effects by fucking Rick Baker,
that.
dude.
Yeah.
That werewolf was.
And they
was
got
nuts.
that. They got the idea from the America Werewolf in London.
Yeah.
I was so thrilled about that shit.
So, Scream, man.
Yeah, see,
It's a dope. It's a dope favorite movie, man. That's one of our favorites too.
Yeah.
It was real slick. It had, like the first killing right off the rip was nuts, man. Drew Barrymore, like hanging from the tree, made by Wes Cravin. What got you into Scream?
Well, definitely Wes Craven is probably my favorite horror director
Savage,
just because
yeah.
of Nightmare on Elm Street.
such a savage.
Salute.
But like that year was just a good year for me. Like, I don't know, it just reminded me of school, reminded me a lot of stuff. And it took a lot of people by surprise because up until that point, horror movies hadn't really made fun of themselves. There was no scary movie. There was none of the other stuff that came after that was making fun of horror movies. It kind of like took every horror like trope, killer and, damsel in distress or whatever, you know what I mean? All this other stuff that we had seen in slasher movies or whatever, and it kind of made fun of it and kind of broke the fourth wall, I guess, for the audience. So that's why I definitely connected with it. Right? It's almost like a comedy horror, which I think is cool too, but without being corny.
Yeah.
I like that who's who factor in it though. You never knew who the killer was, so you kind of had to like pick and choose of who you thought it was and who it isn't, and the surprise at the end. That was all made for a dope ass movie, man.
I was kind of excited when you said Scream because like we were talking about as you grow up, it was the first one when I was like a preteen teenager, because I feel like horror movies are like, there's genres and there's movies that kick off a genre, there's the Nightmare on Elm Street, Jason, Freddy thing. That's a whole thing that they kind of kicked off. And then came along, there was a little bit of a lull, and then Scream kicked off this whole new genre of even the way it looked and it felt. even the people that we saw in it
Yeah,
with
like
the Scream and the whole trilogy, and then I Know What You Did Last
yeah, I'm
Summer,
about
and
to
then
say
the
I
whole
Know What You Did,
trilogy.
Urban Legends. It
Yeah.
kind of set it off for
It's like a
that
whole different
thing.
style and flavor of movie that came into its own that I was
Definitely.
super into because that was my shit. You know, they were the cool kids on TV at the time. You know,
A lot of people hate that because it was like Dawson's Creek and like One Tree Hill, like actors or whatever, like being in all these movies. And I guess like the final nail in the coffin was like House of Wax, like Paris Hilton and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But before that, like you said, it was straight slasher, but it had gotten old. Everything has like a little run. It had gotten old at that point. And then this did kick off that whole like good looking people in a movie. And right after that, people got tired of that, and it went to like the Splat Pack, which is like Hostel and like all the like the what is it called?
Torture porn.
Something porn.
Torture porn.
Torture porn. There we go. Torture porn. There you go.
Yeah.
And that got old real quick, but people wanted it, except for the Rob Zombie stuff, which is probably my second favorite. Like
that's my shit.
Run of movies, like all the Rob Zombie stuff, which came right after, and he was a part of that as well, with Eli Roth and a couple other people. But yeah, man, this was a cool era because it wasn't overly super gory. It brought a lot more people into the horror genre that I think wouldn't have gotten into it just because they usually didn't watch movies like that, or they saw, like you said, their favorite cool kid on TV in the movies. So it was a fun era for me.
Sure. It was definitely a whole vibe because I remember back then, you know, I was a young teen, and like the girls would go see those movies with you, you know, because they knew so and so was in it, so you could take. It was a whole vibe, man. I remember Scream. It came out in December, and so it was cold down here in H-Town, man. We had a bunch of girls. It was a whole vibe, dude.
Yeah.
And everyone was wired up, running through Memorial City Mall, like like afterward. It was a dope time, man.
High school love.
And the kills were like that first opening kill was pretty savage, man. When Drew Barrymore, she's like hanging from a fucking tree, and her she's been just boom with the knife right in the chest. That running scene, I was like, oh yeah, this is not. It looks like Dawson's Creek, but it ain't Dawson's Creek.
Saved by the Bell with a twist.
And right when you turn it on, it's like an instant nostalgia bath. You know, like you're just in it. And I love watching it now because you realize that, I mean, these were the cool kids on TV to us, but these motherfuckers were like 30 years old. Everybody in this movie is like 27 years old, playing a high school kid. It's pretty fucking great.
I like how everybody played off of the what's your favorite scary movie? That started being the lines in so many movies.
Yeah.
And then I like the fact they started like dropping names, just some of Michael Myers and Jason, and he asking all these different questions about what's her favorite horror movie. That to me, and then how long it lasted. Scream went on, had a good ass run, man. Like a long run, man. Surprising. And they started dropping.
Oh yeah. What do you think about Scream 5 coming out?
I mean, I don't see what happens. I see what happens after since Wes Craven is no longer with us. I don't know how it's really going to shape up, but you know, I did not like what they did to the actual TV show Scream, like on MTV. I thought it was kind of corny.
Yeah, really corny.
And also the Teen Wolf thing that they did for MTV. Yeah. But I understand what they were trying to do. They were trying to just take the brand and get a new audience. But I don't know. I'm excited about most of the characters returning in some fashion. So I'm looking forward to it, man. I'll check it out. We'll just have to see how it goes. I was going to tell you guys that also you talked about like everybody was like all hyped about it, running through the malls and all that stuff after watching it. But also like online, it got a crazy buzz because the internet was kind of just starting when Scream came out, and bulletin boards and stuff like that. And people were trying to figure out if there were multiple killers, all kinds of stuff. Yeah. And like, I think it kind of led up to Blair Witch Project, which came out in 99. Was really utilized like the internet and created like this whole lore and everything. But yeah, that was one of the first movies I remember actually like researching online, like what really happened here.
Yeah, I remember that Blair Witch. I remember people like arguing over if it was real. Yeah, people were arguing over it. No, man, my cousin said that this was, but that was one of the brilliant like internet marketing campaigns ever, man. They made a grip on that movie. What's your favorite character? Who's your favorite character in Scream?
Oh man, I mean, I like Randy, so I probably guess say Randy, but I also like Stu, man, Matthew Lillard.
He's great.
Just I don't know, because he was like a wild boy, so I thought that was cool.
What the cool thing about Wes Craven is all like every character is essential to the movie. You know, every character pulls. It's not just like it's kind of centered on one person, but if you take Dewey out of it, it's an entire different movie. If you if you take these characters out, it's entire. He's really good at spreading the interest against through all of his cast. I think it's one of his strong points that people don't quite. It's just the genius of him, you know, like the genius of Dewey as a character to make the movie what it is really like it's a huge point that gets passed over. That dude was really something else when it comes to putting together a story and scaring the shit out of people and making you think about. His thing was he was really good at making you think about the movie after you left the movie. The movie stuck with you, you know? He was really good at that shit. That's what I'm worried about Scream 5 is, man, you got some big shoes to fill with this guy, you know?
I think it was Kevin Williamson, like the writer, kind of helped expand like the characters too. Like I feel like Wes Craven hadn't really had a chance to like show a story that much. It always focused on like one person or one killer or whatever, and you kind of had like a band of outlying characters around that person. But this one, like you said, there's multiple different angles. They had to shoot each person's individual storyline. So once again, you never knew who the killer was, but it also lended to the actual plot itself with the storytelling. But yeah, Kevin Williamson wrote a crazy script for that.
And those elements are is really good food for sequels. You know, when you have a movie that's structured like that, it's really good for a sequel because there's so many different directions and you're invested in so much of the movie. Yeah. When the movie goes away, there's still all this all this want in the storyline. It's really well done, yeah. So are you into new horror? Have you seen anything good that you like lately? Because man, I tell you one thing, there was when at the beginning of the whole pandemic thing, I was a little bit disappointed, but man, they got some killer movies coming out right now.
Which movie were you particularly looking forward to that didn't get to come out yet, that they pushed to 2021?
Candyman.
Oh, Candyman, yeah. I mean, I think it's cool. Did you like Us and the you know what I mean?
Get Out was one of my
story?
favorite movies. Get Out was one of my favorite movies like ever. Us, I'm dumb, so I didn't understand it, you know. So I had to like watch it 5 times. So but it was still cool. But I love Jordan Peele, man. I think I'm really interested to see what he's going to do with it. It's either going to be, in my opinion, which doesn't matter. I think it's going to be fire as fuck, or it's going to be something I don't get, you know. But I think Candyman was my guy growing up, so it was like I'm excited to see that character come back.
I think to me, Us, I like the fact that Us could leave each individual that watched the movie with your own different take on it. You know what I'm saying? Because he threw so many metaphors in there with the rabbits, with like the people coming together as one. Are you your own worst enemy? Are you the one that's killing yourself for what you're trying to do? It's all kind of stuff he threw out there. But what really threw me off when they started talking. Like she could talk, but the other one was like the dad was like, I was like, man, you know, he's screaming and shit. I'm like, man, he can't speak. And then she explaining what's going on. And then as the movie went on, you kind of see like, oh shit, they did a role reversal as a little kid. So she's actually coming from where she's from. And it's so many ways you could take that movie, man. And then to me, it's just the thought of who are we and what are we becoming? Are we destroying who we are?
Meh.
You know what I'm saying?
Meh.
And that shit was wild, man.
Meh. I didn't. Meh.
The soundtrack was fire though.
Yeah, but you like Witch, so I don't expect you to like everything.
Yeah, see, we were fighting about this movie a bunch, but yeah, the soundtrack was fire.
What'd you think?
What'd you think about it?
Which movie were you fighting about? What other movie did you?
Oh, we were fighting about
Us.
Oh, you talking about that? We were fighting about Us, and we always fight about The Witch.
The Witch.
Oh yeah, The Witch. You see, it's a slow build, man. You got to sit there for it. That doesn't get popping until the last 10, 15 minutes of the movie. So I also like Hereditary, and I haven't seen Midsummer, but
shit,
waiting to see that.
Man,
Midsummer, go get
killer,
in that, man. Definitely. And it's another one that just dropped the other day. It's called Spell.
Okay.
Check that out, man. That's some crazy shit, man. It's like nobody said, it's a mix between Skeleton Key and Misery. Let's
Mm,
put those two together. Some wild
okay,
shit.
Yeah,
that's
man, and that
dope.
movie that Josh Rubin did, Scare Me.
Yeah,
That
Scared Me
movie's the
was dope.
shit, man.
Fuck yeah.
Okay, I was gonna watch that, but I didn't like the trailer. I thought it looked like cool for a little while, but it didn't seem like it would it seemed like more of like a comedy thing, but I was gonna check it out. But you guys suggest that one?
Very
Scare Me?
much so.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a good
That and
movie, man.
Spell, man.
Yeah, and Host was live
Yeah,
too.
Host too.
Yeah, I was gonna say, yeah, that's one that's one of the first ones I saw during the pandemic. Besides the stuff that the new stuff that came out this or 2020, I
Yeah.
thought that was done well. The guy took a 1 minute like Twitter video and he got greenlit for a script to shoot the whole thing. I guess
Yeah,
he's
yeah.
people were looking for any kind of content during the whole pandemic thing. They didn't know when they were going to get back to get in the studios or anything else. But it ended up being a really good movie, so I would suggest people check that one out also.
Yeah, we had the homie Joe on the show, man, that made Host. He's cool as shit too.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that was like the right place at the right time type of vibe. You know,
With the right dude. Yeah.
Yeah, everyone's stuck at home, and happy for them, man. Blumhouse just gave them like a 3-picture deal. It's gonna
Yeah, it's
be
about to
they're
be
gonna
Holy crap.
crazy with that
Yeah.
I know, right?
they're about to
Yeah,
be.
yeah.
I hope they make Blumhouse movies more live.
Oh man,
you know.
another one too, man. You should look at Fried Berry, man. Check that out too.
Fried berries
That's some
Say it
wild-
again. What's it called?
Fried Berry.
fried berries. It's a South African flick, right?
Okay, Fried Berry.
Huh.
All right.
Yeah, it's a
Man,
South
see,
African movie.
That's cool, but and a lot of these movies like are like these Shutter like originals or whatever. Sometimes it throws me off because I think it's gonna be like low budget and corny.
Yeah.
But like when Blumhouse is attached to something, I know at least it has like some studio promotion and everything, and it might be shot better or whatever. But then some of these like more indie films have surprised me, so it's cool to check
Yeah.
out all this stuff. Thanks for
Definitely.
the recommendations.
Yeah. And all the low budget guys are kind of since everybody's at home, a lot of the low budget guys and indie guys are able to kind of show their strengths because, man, the big budget road only goes so long,
Yeah.
and eventually
need
if
all
you're
those
really
different
into it, you're going to
different
wade
shit.
into those waters. And I think it's really cool time for creators and shit like
Yeah,
that,
'cause
man.
Big
'cause
budget got to close down streets, close down buildings.
Like I
they need
say,
all
man,
these actors and shit. so-
3 budget deal off a Twitter post. That's fucking crazy, man. If you really think about it, it stemmed from a Twitter post, and it just so happened the dude could back it up,
Hey, I saw on one of your animal status background. You had the They Live up, so that's one of your movies you'll go to watch every once in a while.
Man, so if people don't know, I do a weekly show on Shade 45, which is on Sirius XM, Eminem's channel. And it's called Animal Status. And basically every week I try to do something based around. I mean, it's all like horrorcore rap. I do that and then I'll do new stuff as well. But that's like kind of like it's more underground music. So all of the flyers and promos I do myself, and I just try to make it around some kind of horror poster stuff that I grew up with from the 90s, 80s, whatever. Like iconic images and stuff. And I guess what you're talking about is some of the like the top 5 of the week or whatever. I'll just put like a face of an iconic poster or something on there. But They Live was cool. I like Roddy Piper. I was into wrestling and everything else, but
Yeah.
it wasn't one of my favorite horror movies. I just think the imagery is iconic, and I think it definitely people should watch They Live if they haven't seen it, especially in the times that we're living in right now.
Especially
Fuck
now.
yeah, man.
Open some people's eyes.
It's
for
hitting
sure.
right now, man. It's like when you watch it now, you like, damn, man, we under that damn spell right now.
It's almost
Shit.
like they read our book.
I came here to chew bubble gum and kick some ass.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wonder, you grew up in New York, right? You're a New York guy originally?
No, well, I grew up in Delaware, and then I went to school in New York. So I've been in New York for majority of my life. I just never left. I went to Long Island, Hofstra University, to go to film school. I wanted to go to NYU for film school, but I didn't have like a film reel or I had like video reel, but I couldn't get into NYU. So Hofstra also had a film program. Ended up majoring in film production, and then started doing a radio station at my school during that time as like a hobby. Ended up doing it like every weekend of my life, and ended up double majoring in audio production and film, but just ended up going into the the radio route. Originally, I was at Miramax, which they had the Scream franchise and everything else during that time. It was Bob Weinstein, it was Harvey Weinstein's brother, under his I'm trying to think what the hell what was Miramax's sister company. Well, anyway, that's what they were under. So I was under like Harvey Weinstein and them doing internships. And eventually got out of there and ended up doing radio because it just seemed more fun to me, and I didn't have to work with a bunch of people. Working with film, like you said, you have to shut down places, you have to do that. You even had to do all that in like college film uh productions, and I didn't like doing all that stuff. I just wanted to create by myself, so that's how I ended up kind of going the audio and
Yeah.
Were
radio
you
route.
DJing this whole time while you were in school?
What is that? One more time.
Were you DJing the whole time while you were in school?
Yeah, I was more based like towards radio. Originally, like I wanted to get on the radio, I guess. So I was doing radio DJing at the station. I do a couple parties, but then I kind of transferred into wanting to do more party stuff, but and career ended up being in radio itself. So yeah,
Yeah.
during that whole time I was DJing.
Hey, you killed it on that 13 Rooms of Horror, man. I was that,
That's
that
cool.
that was live. How you was putting the music to the movies and shit. I think it was one it was The Ring. We had the lady turning around, and you forgot what mix you put on there, but that shit was live as hell,
That was like an hour-long mix I did for Serato. Serato, people don't know, that's the computer software and hardware company that most people use a DJ with now. It's how people how people use laptops to get music onto vinyl or CDs, whatever. If you see DJs out the
Mhm.
clubs you're going to, and so they did a Halloween special with me and two other DJs, um, Jasmine Solano and the Boom Bat Kids. They also did it that day. But I wanted to do something special for my set, and I designed like 13 different rooms for people to go through, and I just kind of like switched them. The music didn't really have anything to do with like the actual background, but I just wanted to go through 13 different rooms with people, and then also I shot an intro to the whole set, which was like shot on like like professional cameras and everything. You guys can check that out. It's on my Instagram. It's at DJ Wonder. Just scroll down a little bit and you'll see like a insane clown posse face. So it's one of those posts around there. That's
man.
what I dressed up as this year for Halloween, was insane. As
Yeah.
actually Shaggy Too Dope to be specific. Yeah, that's what I was.
So you were always kind of a radio guy that fell into DJing and cuz man, I DJ too. And it's kind of crazy that you were like a radio guy at first, but people, man, look up to you, like your scratching styles and the way you mix and stuff like that. There's like a DJ Wonder style that people try to replicate, and like, man, I know people that'll they'll screen grab like or they'll record some of your stuff and try to like replicate routines, and like you're a practice for some people of how to scratch certain ways and stuff like that. It's kind of wild how you fell into it so much. Do you have a feeling on, because I know you still use vinyl, right? You
I
use
mean,
vinyl with
I
Serato
use this.
links,
I
right?
use Serato vinyl.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Yeah.
Yeah, do you have any like kind of feeling towards, vinyl or controllers and stuff like that? Was it I know it was a big thing back when controllers first came out, that people were kind of like people like A-Tracks and stuff like that were like, no, we're gonna stick to the whole thing. And then people, when they embraced it and stuff like that, like new routines and new ways of kind of doing the DJ talent and making it as an art form came around. You have any? I know you still use vinyl. Is there any control? Do you ever use controllers, or do you always use one setup at all times?
I mean, I'd like to. I have a rider when I go places, and I'd like them to have it set up like I want, but that's never the case. If you're in a band, if you're a DJ, if you're any kind of musician, whatever, they never have equipment that you want. So
Yeah.
you have to be, you have to be able to use anything. I've used just my computer and a aux line out before, to do a holiday party or whatever. But I never want to sound corny. So a lot of times if they don't have the stuff I want, I don't like doing it because I don't want to misrepresent myself. But yeah, I do use controllers. It's convenient. A lot of this stuff is getting a lot better. The response, the touch response on the platters of the controllers, especially if they're like a large controller, like a CDJ and mixer size. And I've seen people getting like nasty on like A-Track, like you mentioned. I did a Fool's Gold showcase at Complex Con like last year with him, and he's nasty on a controller,
Yeah,
just
he's
scratching.
crazy.
So, and my other friend Rocket Jackson, he does he competes using his controller when everybody else is using turntables and everything else.
Really?
And he beats a lot of these guys on a controller. So it can be done, man. It's all about, your actual talent, not about what you're using. But I will say, like, if I pulled up, and I had to go against somebody that had a controller, I probably think I could take him out. That's just my, that's my mental thing. But people are as good as their talent. Just they can use whatever's in front of them.
Yeah.
So you mentioned like horrorcore rap. We're down here in Houston. We grew up with Bushwick Bill and Gangsta Nip
Yes,
and
sir.
Ghetto Boy, all that kind of stuff. Who was your favorite like horrorcore
Well,
rapper?
mine was definitely, I guess the first that I ever heard was Mind Playing Tricks on Me. Or no, the first thing I actually ever heard was DJ Jazzy Jeff and the Fresh Prince, Nightmare on My Street.
Oh yeah,
I guess hardcore, and then Fat Boys, Get Ready for Freddy or whatever it's called. That was probably the second one I heard. Dana Dane, Nightmares, and then Mind Playing Tricks on Me. And when I saw the video, when I saw Bushwick Bill, like, it terrified most kids because he was like the human form of Chucky or whatever.
yeah.
And so that I had that cassette single, and I would just run it over and over and over just to hear his verse. But then, I was never until later in life, I was never into anything outside of East Coast hip hop. Like, during the whole East West stuff, I was only listening to East Coast stuff. I didn't like down South music, whether it be Texas or like Florida or any of that stuff. I thought it was like Bama stuff. But obviously I've opened myself up to it now. So East Coast only during the hardcore era. So I was like Gravediggers, Flatliners, and those are like the two favorite. Obviously, Gravediggers is my favorite of all time. 6 Feet Deep, aka I can't even say the other real title of it.
Yeah.
Is my favorite and probably one of my favorite albums, if not like my second favorite album of all time.
That caught me by surprise. I remember I was going through a tape of my sister's, and her boyfriend, when they broke up, he left a case of tapes and stuff like that. And I looked at it and I was like, Gravediggers, what is this? And I put it in. And of course, when you first hear that, you're like, what the fuck? Like, caught me by surprise. I was like, what a crazy thing to press play and that's playing. You're like, Jesus Christ. Next level shit, just like fresh to your ears, man. Yeah.
I think it's such a crazy time because there was so little amount of bands that were put through on like major labels back then. It's not like now where everybody can get popping from their bedroom. Everybody can, at any state, any country, anywhere, you can just put something on SoundCloud and you can get signed or whatever. You had to go to actual New York, you had to go to LA, whatever. You had to get groomed, you had to have an A&R, everything else. So there was so few people that actually got record deals. And then there was mad hardcore people between like maybe 93 to like 95, I guess, that were like playing on like BET would play a video from Gravediggers or whatever. And that's why I kind of like hardcore. Put horror music into the forefront of actual popular music at the time, which I don't know if we could do today. I guess that some of the pop punk guys kind of try to like bring back the hardcore style maybe a few years ago. And then, you've got Suicide Boys and other people that are kind of doing it now. But that time was very special, man. It was like scary. And especially as like a kid seeing this stuff, it was like, oh my gosh, this is what's really gonna like Tretch from Naughty by Nature really walks around with a machete.
Yeah.
Or like Onyx, like Sticky Fingers, he really has a gun he carries with him at all times. Like I can never run into these people. You know what I mean? That's what I thought as a kid. So I don't know if any kids are scared of rappers at this point growing up, but
I don't think so.
that's how it was for me, for sure.
Yeah, no shit.
Yeah,
I think that man with the glass white eye.
Oh yeah, no, I think that's kind of like what kind of it was scary, like just like you said, man. That Mind Playing Tricks on Me. That when Bushwick jumped out that damn tree and was running, it was like that was terrifying. And that's my thing about horrorcore rappers. I love horrorcore rappers, but some of them, like if I don't believe you, it's like any rap, I guess. If I don't believe you, that's also, we're from an era where we had to believe you. You know what I mean? What you were saying, and it's like, wait, now you can grow up and I don't know. You can say I killed all these people, and it doesn't have to be true. But back then, you had to believe that shit. You know what I mean?
Bushwick made a whole Chucky song, so that really just
the Chucky song was
Chuckwick,
fire, dude. Chuckwick.
And I remember I got kicked out of class for rapping that shit, man. I replayed the tape like you do. I replayed it so many times, and I used to rewind the first verse and learn it. And then I learned it, and I learned it. And man, I rapped that in class, and the teacher just looked at me
What's wrong with this
like,
boy?
what the hell is going on? Like, what are you talking about? You know what I'm saying? It's just, it was too much. And now that I listen to it now, I'm like, damn, that shit is graphic like a motherfucker. Like, damn, he really went into details with how he gonna
That dude
do it,
said I murdered my nieces,
what he
man.
gonna do to
Fucking-
somebody. He gonna put your head in the mailbox and all this
That's
type of stuff.
that's crazy.
And but I'm a big fan of Chucky, so I was just drawn to that. You know what I'm saying? That just made, I was like, damn, I was fascinated he was from Houston, and I was also fascinated that he was rapping about one of the characters that I liked growing up, and it just drew me into that type of style. But like Gangsta Nip was the first one I ever heard,
Whew.
and he had his whole thing is hardcore rap. It's just his whole way of rapping. Right now, man, he would get banned.
Oh
Like
yeah,
if you
real
listen to his
fast.
music, they'll throw that shit. Like he'll be all on the internet, like, hey, don't listen to him, don't do this. But he originated it, man, to me, but it was just different, man. Cause he had one verse like he's sitting in the church drinking a 40 of holy water. It's like, man, who's saying that type of shit? Like, man,
Well, the
you
difference in Gangsta Nip and everybody else is, um, well, except for some, but like as far as Ghetto Boys and stuff like that, Ghetto Boys had like, um, they had horror core songs. Gangsta Nip was nothing but horror.
Yeah.
That's all he was. His
Yeah.
entire character, his entire being was nothing but this serial killer nutcase
Yeah.
that
his name was
that
South
happened
Park
to spit.
Psycho. So
Yeah.
it's like, man, who calling themselves a psycho?
He was definitely the most extreme when it
Yes,
came to
definitely.
horrorcore. He was really fucking out there. It would you couldn't get through half a song right now without be
We're
canceled.
gonna have to
with
send you the
Gangsta
link
Nip.
of his music if you don't have it.
I know, man. I know Gangster Nip. Yeah, for sure. Every year, I mean, besides playing hardcore on my on a weekly basis, I do a Halloween mix every year. You guys can check it out. Just mixcloud.com/DJ Wonder or djwonder.com/mixes. You can see all the mixes. And
I
I do
follow you on
straight. I do like
Mixcloud.
2 hours straight of hardcore every Halloween.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I know pretty much every hardcore artist, even some of the newer guys. Like I gotta constantly keep updating myself, but it's hard to find nowadays.
Most definitely. So what do you think you're like? What are some of the movies that you always rewatch? Like I have some staples that'll get watched at least once a year, like Hellraiser, Dream Warriors, like you mentioned, and Return of the Living Dead is like my favorite all time. What are some of the movies that like you could always like rewatch no matter what?
Yeah. Well, outside of like I said, the Scream franchise, definitely Nightmare on Elm Street 1. I think is probably the scariest of all the Nightmare on Elm Street movies. Even though I like Dream Warriors the best, just because of nostalgia reasons, but I think it's shot the craziest. Like just for if people don't know, like the special effects at the time was like mind altering because people weren't really doing stuff like that back then. I kind of like Halloween H2O. I love I've probably seen that out of more than any of the other Halloween movies. Just one with Busta Rhymes and Tyra Banks. I thought it was hilarious, but it's actually a pretty good movie. If people haven't checked that one out. Jason Takes Manhattan. Friday the 13th Part 8.
Yeah.
That's AT's favorite shit, man. He loves that fucking movie.
Yeah, man. I love watching that. But it takes for people who haven't seen that, just hang on because it takes a while for them to actually get to New York City. But once they do, it goes crazy. So that's always fun to watch. And man, I guess those are like my main staples, but I'm constantly always looking for something if any horror comes on TV, I'll end up watching it. That's just automatic. Or if I'm like on a flight or whatever, if they have any horror movies to watch, I probably look like a weirdo. Okay, this is a crazy story. When they remade Friday the 13th, what was it, around 2009 or something like that, 2010 or something like that, I don't know, sometime around there. People might know Stretch Armstrong. He's a famous DJ. Stretch and Bobbito, they have a show or had a show, and now they have a show on Apple, I believe. I was sitting next to Stretch Armstrong, coming back from a flight, and I had just gotten this on, so I had it on my laptop, and I'm like, I want to watch this remake. I downloaded it, blah blah. So he's looking at me crazy. People on the plane are looking at me crazy. I'd never seen it before, so I don't know which. Sometimes you got to kind of fast forward through certain scenes on a plane because you want everybody looking at you like you're a complete psychopath. But I was just like, man, whatever. Let me watch this. And I'm sitting here like on the aisle seat watching this remake, and he's probably thinks that I'm a nutcase. But yeah, man, those are. I love watching horror, so that's what I end up doing.
Isn't that funny when you're like, when like I have like a scary horror movie air freshener always. I always throw a new one up, and I'd be like driving Uber around. People get in the car and they're like, why is there a clown hanging from your fucking your window? Like, man, I'm into horror movies, man. Yeah, they give you that kind of like, okay.
Oh, well, you tell people you watch horror before you go to bed.
This guy's a fucking nutcase.
Bro, I went
watch that shit to go to sleep.
I went and dropped my daughter off. We were late for school, and I went and dropped her off at her school. She's 7. I had a big Night of the Demons t-shirt on, and the principal looking at me all crazy. And so I'm like, oh, man, I forgot all about it. Yeah.
It's crazy, though. Like,
yo, which Night of the Demons? The remake or the original?
I like the OG, the original.
Oh, yeah, the remake was kind of trash, but...
Trash.
Who was it? Who the girl from American Pie? I forget her name was in it.
Shannon Elizabeth.
Yeah, Shannon Elizabeth. Right. But yo, the original, the VHS cover of Night of the Demons has definitely scarred me as a youth. For real.
Oh yeah, man. I got that on my.
Oh wow, dude, that's crazy.
Yeah.
That Linnea Quigley. So the fat dude with the pig nose. That's like my spirit animal. I'm Stooge. Like I am that fucking dude. But it's crazy how those movies. They used to hit hard, man. But now, like, I like a lot of the new stuff, but it doesn't like. I don't know if it's because they're competing with me watching my phone, and I don't know if I'm just old and fucked up now. I don't know, but it like the new movies don't hit as hard to me as they did back then.
I think they put more into like creating a scene than just hitting a couple buttons and make blood splatter. Cause we got to talk to Nick Benson. He was special effects on there, and the one scene when she pokes the guy eyes out. Yeah. If you really look close, they actually use grapes for the eyes.
Yeah, those
to poke them out. So it's like to know that and to know that you went into and he says so many takes you had to do to keep doing it over and over and over to get it right. To me, that's mind-boggling. Like.
Those practical effects really stick with you more,
man,
than the CGI stuff. That's what made the house that Jack built so like that's why it stuck with me so much. Is those practical effects in there are really gruesome in that movie, man.
That house that Jack built is nuts,
man.
Yeah, did you see that one?
I think what you said also about maybe you're getting older too. That might be the case as well. Because listen, man, we always stick with whatever we kind of loved as a child. That sticks with us for the rest of our lives. But just like music, I'll never deny that one era is better than other, even eras that I didn't live through. You know what I mean? Like I love New Jack Swing. That's probably my favorite genre of music outside of like hardcore or like hip hop in general, or whatever. Or yacht rock. But New Jack Swing is like my stuff. But I won't say that it's better than Stevie Wonder or some stuff from like the 70s. You know what I mean? Even because using synthesizers, and back then we're using real instruments, and the songwriting was probably a lot more thought out during that time instead of New Jack Swing era. It was more about parties. But I just love that. I kind of feel it's the same way with, like you said, movie effects. They put a lot more effort into it back then. It cost a lot more to make movies back then. It cost a lot more to shoot it on 35 millimeter or whatever they had to shoot it on. And like I said before about people getting signed to record labels, it's the same thing with movies. Like every time a new album would come out, when there was fewer people coming out with music, it was an event. Like when Ghostface would come out with an album, it's like, oh man, it's coming out in a couple of weeks. We gotta get ready for it, blah, blah, blah. Now somebody can come out with an album and it's forgot about the next week because somebody else has like a mixtape coming out, or a new artist has something coming out that'll make you forget about it. You didn't have time to like actually sit with it. So I think that's the same thing with movies. You don't have time to like go back and rewatch things because you have more stuff to watch on deck, you know?
Yeah. And I think it could happen like it happens like if where you're at and there's something about the movie 30 Days of Night. I don't know what it is or what state of mind I was in or what was happening in my life where there's just something about that movie that I just fucking love. I love that movie. And it's not that old. I never watched it as a kid. I didn't even watch it when it came out. I watched it afterwards. And I firmly believe like it was something that was happening in my life. I was in a good state of mind, or like I just came up on some money or some shit like that that stuck with me. That subconscious that, man, I probably watched that movie 10 times a year. And it's just that movie. And the house that Jack built. That movie scares the shit out of me uncomfortably. But I love watching that fucking movie.
He likes all those artsy movies.
I'm an artsy fartsy movie, as they
I've
say.
I've grown to like them more recently, like you said, with like The Witch and Hereditary and all that stuff. They've been I think they've been a little more interesting than some of like the I think that whole era, the torture porn era, kind of threw me off, man. Like after like Saw 3 or whatever,
Too
like
much,
I was
man.
kind of done with it, and I think people needed to rely more on story again, which was cool, and stuff that happens off camera rather than stuff that's like in your face, you know.
Yeah, that Midsummer gonna blow your mind there, man.
Yeah, you'll really dig that movie.
That shit there. Cause at first I went into Midsummer like looking for Witch and Hereditary, but when I watched it, I'm like, oh shit, it brought a whole different element to like the slow burners type deal. But
That
man,
daytime horror.
yeah,
Horror
it's
in the
just so
daytime.
much going on to where you're like, damn, man, I never want to be in this type of situation. And the way the characters are built in that movie, you're like, damn, that could happen to any one of us. You know what I'm saying? That's how you feel about it. And you get caught in the moments of it, like, oh shit, it's the build up to the end is like, damn, so well worth it, man. Dope, man. Midsummer is one of the ones that's, whew, man, that's one of those good ones, man.
Any is there any movies you're looking forward to coming out that you might have missed that didn't come out because of COVID or whatever?
I'm trying to see. I'm looking at like the docket of stuff that's coming out in 2021, but actually, Tales from the Hood 3. I didn't get to see that. The ending. Did you guys see that? I did. Well, first off, did you guys see Tales from the Hood 2 when it came straight to online?
I tried it, man. I couldn't
Yeah,
get into it as much as I loved the first one. You know, the first one
that
was
first one just hits.
you know, yeah, that first one was one of, and that's another one that I watch 5 times a year. So when I was watching the second one, I was kind of bored and I was a little disappointed.
Yeah, man. I mean, I think that goes along with like the reason I didn't. I loved Tales from the Hood. I love Candyman, and I didn't look at it as like some racial thing or whatever. Whereas I feel like Get Out and Us and even the new Candyman are being marketed as that. It's kind of like this is for us, for black people, or this is not for white people, or white people are bad, blah blah blah. It's almost being marketed like that, even though some of those storylines were within those original movies like Candyman or some of the individual stories of Tales from the Hood. It wasn't marketed like, this is not for you or whatever, blah blah blah. It kind of made people go see the movie no matter what your background was, and everybody came out learning whatever the director wanted you to get out of it. So I was kind of hesitant to even watch Get Out just because of the initial hype. When like I felt like they were bigging up Jordan Peele just because he was like a black director rather than a talented director. You know what I'm saying? But then after I went back and watched it, I'm like, nah, this really is a good movie. But yeah, I don't like some of the marketing promotion that they're doing with some of these new movies like that.
It's crazy. That's kind of like what they got to do to get people's butts in the seats. You know what I mean? It's like competing with the internet is a hard thing to do, man. Because at your fingertips, you can watch some porn, you can watch some cat videos, you can it's like getting people off the phones. It's you're getting that instant stimulation on your phone these days, so it's kind of hard for a filmmaker to compete with that. I think it's kind of changed movies. All this stuff is above my pay grade. I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about, but it's like I think there's something to that. Like even to get people to go, they kind of like turn it. It's like, man, to me, it's like along the same lines of like whatever happened to MTV. It's like people just want to see drama bullshit now. But remember how dope MTV was, man?
Phil had to do it. He had to do. I think he really did the direction because a lot of people was watching him on his comedy show. And they was like, how is he gonna take what he did on Comedy Central into movies and make it believable also? Because like, okay, is it gonna be like something funny? Is it gonna be something hilarious? So he dug deep into how he thought the movie should be played out. You know what I'm saying? And him as a director, he fed on the times of what's going on right now. He like, okay, if I put this out, everybody gonna see it who not supposed to see it. Normally, people that don't watch horror movies, they gonna fill in these seats, and all the people that do watch horror movies, they gonna watch it anyway because they like Jordan Peele. But he took a different approach. That's why I think a lot of people, when they saw Get Out and saw Us, they was kind of like, it was just the mixed feelings about it. Like, that's not really what I was expecting. So he grabbed it like, okay, I'm gonna get you right back in the seats again. I'm about to do Candyman. And then watching the trailer of Candyman, it's like, oh shit, he definitely added more kills into it. He gonna look like it's gonna be more of a storyline to it. And it's like, I'm really anticipating on seeing it, man. I hate the fact that
I hope it doesn't get fucked up, man. You can't fuck up Candyman, man.
Nah, man.
It's a lot of pressure, though. It's a lot of pressure.
He's not directing it. He's only producing it, so it won't be Jordan Peele's fault. So his record could still be good. I guess he had to give the final okay on it. I'm looking at some of these ones I forgot about that are coming out, like Escape Room 2. I actually like the first Escape Room. I thought it
Escape Room was dope.
Too bad. Don't Breathe. What's it called? Oh, not Don't Breathe. I just made that up. A Quiet Place 2. Quiet Place I thought was kind of cool, even though it's more along the sci-fi lines. The Ghostbusters Afterlife. I'm interested in that.
That looks dope.
After that last terrible Ghostbusters, and then I'm looking at something. Fear Street is coming out, which is like from the R.L. Stein novels. It was like his older non-Goosebumps books that were out when we were kids. But the Fear Street line, I read those as a kid too. So I'm interested to see what they do kind of with that movie.
There's also a movie called Malignant that looks pretty interesting.
What's the plot on that one?
It seems like artsy fartsy shit, like you know, artsy fartsy shit. You know,
he wants to watch people with teacups with pinkies up, fucking.
I like that
shit chatting about the future.
The thing is I like storyline, and I like writers, and I like really, really good actors. I like actors that are fucking blow me away. So that's what I look for, you know, like it just takes more. Well, excuse me if I'm hard to impress. Jesus fucking Christ.
Not me, man. I love a good terrible movie every so often as well, man.
Oh, we got a bunch of those. We have a section on our podcast called Fuckery where he watches a really, really bad,
that's my shit,
bad, terrible movie that no one's ever heard of.
Have you seen Dude Bro Party Massacre 3?
I have not, man. Is it worth my time or not?
Yeah, man. It's more funny than anything, but it is ridiculous, man. It's ridiculous. I would recommend, Dude
Is that
Bro.
like something that they made like currently with like a retro feel to it of like 90s movies or whatever?
Yeah.
80s movies?
Yeah, it's definitely playing on like all the tropes of 80s summer camp slasher movies, you know.
I do kind of like those because everybody loves camp movies. I mean, I always have, no matter if it's horror or not. Everybody, I don't know, people have just a good feeling about summer camp in general, but then, you know, Friday the 13th just put that connotation on it that anytime any movie goes, I'll watch it no matter what, even if it's like terrible and it's using the same thing over and over again. I just like that feeling. So that's
what
cool.
you think about the VHS series that came out?
The VHS, the compilation, the VHS 1 and 2.
Which one was the summer when they was in the camp? Which one was that? Am I saying that correctly?
The VHS, the movie VHS?
No, not the movie. The one we saw at the summer camp. What was it? When they're in the campgrounds and it's a killer supposed to be like the railroad killer. What was that?
Oh, there's a new movie on Netflix right now that it's like a Polish version of Friday the 13th, and they're basically, it's not Jason, but I thought it was pretty dope. They're basically saying, look, we know we're copying this, but they made it entertaining, and it's live as shit, you know. And it's like I have the attention span of a gnat, so I sat there and was digging it, and in subtitles. Or was it they were dubbing it?
I was talking about the other series with the camp. It came out in like a 4-part series.
Bro, that could be
not American Horror Story. The last one, that one.
No, not American Horror Story.
But that was dope too. If you guys haven't seen the last one.
I thought that was cool.
Well, I was gonna say, are you into? I'm really into new horror TV. They got some really dope horror TV, like the
Black Summer was dope.
Black Summer, fucking what's the other one that Jordan Peele did?
Twilight Zone remake.
That was fire, but the one
I didn't see that one.
The one that Jordan Peele did.
Jordan Peele did Twilight Zone.
Lovecraft Country.
Oh,
Lovecraft
Lovecraft.
Country.
That shit was.
Man, I don't have time to watch scripted TV. Honestly, the only thing I watch scripted wise is Walking Dead, and Fear the Walking Dead or whatever. And I'll watch American Horror Story when it comes back on, or like whenever the new season is. But yeah, I can never really get in. I never have time, man. Like I watch reality TV because that's what I do it for work. So I do radio still
Yeah.
currently. I do a morning show, and I have to know like what's going on. So I watch reality shows just to know what's happening with that. And I watch Ghost Adventures is probably my favorite show that I watch constantly every week. And that's about it, man. I can never get into like series until after the fact. I guess I can go back and watch them.
There's another show that's really fucking good. It's called Raised by Wolves. It's Ridley Scott's new shit, and it's like a sci-fi horror. And man, it's one of the best things I've seen. It can compare to. It's as good as Walking Dead. Like it's that well made. It's fucking amazing. It's called Raised by Wolves on HBO Max. Ridley Scott shit. It's fucking out there, like way out there in costume, out there in effects, out there in storyline, just wild.
Like
Wonder, don't trust him, man. Don't trust him. He says that, but it's
What was the other one? That summer of '85 when they thought the neighbor was the killer.
I don't remember. I'm here to party.
Oh, okay.
So
That's fucked up.
Yeah.
Once you guys remember all these, I need you to email me all the titles. So
Oh yeah, you about to get a lot of emails coming your way about different movies because I'm trying to think of that one with the camp because we watched it before and it was like the Hispanic guy was the killer and the knife and the girl they was inviting people back to the camp and they was just killing people over and over and over again.
That's American Horror Story, man.
That was American Horror Story, but it was called VHS. Wasn't it called something else?
1984.
1984.
Yeah.
That's what I can't think of
yeah.
the name of it.
It was like Richard Ramirez.
Yes.
Yeah,
That
dude,
shit
that was a great series.
That was, man. Because some of the American Horror Story, like, I watch them, then it just kind of lose me a little bit.
I like The Apocalypse. The Apocalypse was good, and the one in New Orleans.
no,
was
that
good.
that aesthetic though on that 84,
Yeah.
like that beginning, that bam,
Yeah,
bam,
man.
and they're doing the jazzercise shit, like, and then the blood splatters.
Fuck yeah, man.
Bro, my mom fucking taught jazzercise. That shit, that was a whole vibe, dude. And like that intro is like one of the hardest intros.
Yeah, man.
I
That
thought.
shit was sick.
Yeah, the music is always crazy, no matter like what the theme is for that particular season of American Horror Story. They always got crazy music, so that's dope.
Yeah, Hotel had some really. There's like you said, there's a few of them that I kind of lost me, but the New Orleans one, the Hotel one, and the Apocalypse one were fucking ridiculous, man.
That's that
Really well made. They take their time, and the reoccurring. I like to see how how they're gonna cast because there's reoccurring actors, not really characters, but actors.
Yeah.
It's really cool to see them do different roles. It's
Yeah,
fucking really
for
good
sure.
series.
Yep.
DJ Wonder, thank you so much for your time, bro.
Yes, man.
Hey, no problem, man. The podcast sounds dope, so I can't wait to listen to it.
We
That's
love
cool, man.
horror movies, man. Horror movies are our life.
Guys.
You know, there's some horror goons.
I'm Zano Da Vinci.
It's your boy ATX and Space Bike.
Slow key as me.
Trying to figure shit out. This changed my life forever.